I did not come here seeking a mythical army. I was sent to study alongside my brother, that someday I might be as great a leader as he is. This territory was once the heart of King Solomon's mighty empire. According to legend, it holds a secret we are sworn to protect. Perhaps that secret is the reason the fortress is much sought after by neighboring kingdoms.
It seems as the Prince haven't had enough adventures, as Ubisoft has brought us yet another installment from the reclaimed Prince of Persia series, called The Forgotten Sands. Is there still some place left for the Prince to climb upon, or has the sand already overshadowed him? Find out on Sex Plays Review.
Story.
Contrary to Prince of Persia's 2008 installment, The Forgotten Sand is set in a Sands of Time story timeline, taking place between Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time and Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. The game focuses on the prince, who is on his way to see his brother Malik and learn how to become a leader. As he arrives at Malik's kingdom, it turns out that the castle is under heavy attack, and even though both Malik's army and the prince himself put up a fight, there's no doubt that they're fighting a losing battle, and as a last desperation move, Malik releases a legendary army called Solomon. It turns out not to be such a good move, as the army decides to destroy everything by turning it to sand. Now, it's up to you, as the prince, to stop this disaster.
Gameplay.
With this latest installment, the game has returned to its former self by returning to its roots from the previous series within the trilogy. Everything is here again, running across walls, jumping from pillars, climbing structures, avoiding traps, and making other well-timed leaps, and having the ability to reverse time is yet again implemented to the game. The game gives you a really clear signal that it has divided the gameplay into two sections, mainly platforming and combat. As it goes for platforming, it is by far the best from all of the series, with a combination of timing, precision, and usage of skills which you unlock throughout the game, such as turning water to ice so you can swing to another platform, reconstructing old structures, and even teleporting yourself to other locations, brings out a very fun but challenging and rewarding platforming. As for combat, there isn't anything that stands out. It's decent and focuses on its most important part of the combat, crowd control and evading enemies, as well as combos. You have the ability to avoid attacks by rolling, you also have that simple attack move, and when you hold it down for a longer time, you initiate a power attack. Jumping is of course also present within the combat, and gives you the ability to avoid attacks and leap over enemies while slashing them with your sword. And last but not least, you have the ability to push and kick your enemies. To give the combat some diversity, the game also features a progression system, where you learn powers by spending points in which you gain from killing enemies. The main powers are elemental, such as fire, ice, wind, and earth. Each of them have their own usage, where some minor powers include a shield and the power to summon fire blasts, ice trails, and small tornadoes. Combined with your normal attacks and powers, you can make some really awesome combinations and feel very powerful, but there is not a big selection between combos, and there is no way to unlock new ones, which leads to a combat that gets a bit stale, repetitive, and predictive after a while. Don't get me wrong, the combat is actually fun, but it could be so much better if a greater efficiency would have been laid on its progression and rewarding system.
Presentation.
With beautiful soundtrack and detailed environments while you're climbing on top of buildings, jumping from platform to platform, and slashing through hordes of enemies will make your eyes enjoy the views. As you could guess, the game a really nice graphic with really detailed characters combined with good voice acting, especially the main character that you play, the prince. There are of course some downsides of the presentations, such as some graphical bugs and low resolution textures on some things, but when everything is put together, it makes out a remarkable experience and it gives you a feel that will make you enjoy the adventure so much more. The biggest problem of the game is that it really features some good voice acting, but isn't given the room within the game which it deserves. The story progresses very slowly, and even when you're half through the game, you haven't really gotten that much information other than you must fight this army from destroying the kingdom. The story opens itself up in the end and tries to explain the history and events that are happening around you, but it feels very rushed and not well thought out, which makes you feel somehow disconnected with the world. It's a sad thing to see, as the world seems to be very interested and clearly has some potential to actually make at least an enjoyable story, but as it isn't touched upon, you really start to lose interest in characters and events that are happening around you.
My people, the Marid, moved rivers, created aqueducts. We kept the waters flowing, bringing life to the desert.
Verdict.
Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sand is in the end a fun and enjoyable game. It has not done anything revolutionary in terms of gameplay or graphical segments, but in the end, it's a really decent game that has really few flaws. Sure, the combat was short in some aspect, but it's still very enjoyable, and together with the thought out platforming forms a really nice mix, and gives you two different views from how the game is meant to be played. So, if you have been waiting for a good platformer with combat and can look through the clumsy story, Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sand is a good pick.